Do you know Mangalacharana? You can sing that. We can sing that together.
Jai
Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare
Hare Hare
Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Thank you for singing so nicely. You've done this before, I think, right? It's not your first kirtan. Thank you. So we can read a little bit and have a little discussion, maybe. I read recently, well, my godbrother, dear friend, I was thinking about him. Actually, one of my dear friends is Nalacho. His name is Yamaraj Das. Interesting name, huh? He's disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he's been a photographer and the layout and design person for BTG magazine, Back to Godhead magazine, for 42 years. I think he must hold some kind of record for steadiness and service. He's done this for so many years, and even before that time he was working with the BBT. I had a nice conversation with him just about a week ago. I asked him, did you have a background in design, And he said, well, I had a little design training, and, when he joined the movement very, very young. I just had a little design training, but there are others that I learned from, Vermont and others that he learned, and he said it was just all hands on deck to try to help Srila Prabhupada get his books out. That was back in the 70s, and many of the books weren't out yet. He was, involved with many of those publications, and of course, Back to Godhead magazine. So that's been his mood for all these years. He's been serving as brahmachari, long time brahmachari. Perfect sadhana. He's at Mangalartik every morning, chanting. And anyway, he's been dealing with cancer for the last 10 years. We thought he would leave a long time ago, but he's stayed with us another 10 years, I guess. And he's ready to go now, ready to leave this world. And we went to see him because I thought I probably might not see him again because we're traveling. And I had this conversation with him. He said, I just want to be with the devotees, and I'm hoping that they'll just let me be around them. Very humble person. Probably you've never even heard of him, right? Yeah. But a real hero in Krishna consciousness, although kind of relatively unknown. But he said, I just want to be around the devotees and have them do what they do best, hear and chant about Krishna. Those are his words. And that will help me make the transition, he said. Make that transition. So we actually had kirtan with him like for an hour. It was just my wife and myself. This is Kosharupa Devi Dasi Bible. In case you haven't met her. She's the better 3/4 of the relationship. Anyway, we had, and although he was very weak, he was also singing with us. And it was, I think it was one of the most profound experiences of my life, really, just doing kirtan with him. And immediately I just felt this overwhelming ecstasy. And the thought was that this person is, they've dedicated their life, really, to serving their spiritual master. And I was just feeling this is such a rare soul, although, just in one sense an ordinary person, but he's dedicated his life to serving Krishna, and this is such a rare, special soul, and I just felt he was so dear to Srila Prabhupada. It was just this overwhelming feeling that Srila Prabhupada was present with us and that he was just loved him so much. It was a very powerful experience. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking about during our kirtan, so I wanted to share that with you. But maybe we can read a verse from Bhagavad Gita. I just happen to have a Bhagavad Gita with me. And Krishna speaks about this. It's interesting in, what's chapter is it in? It's chapter 8, right, where he talks about attaining the Supreme, yeah, chapter 8. I was just testing it. Let's see. Yeah, so it's very wonderful. He says, Krishna's explaining there that there's different ways to leave the world, right? That one can leave in darkness, and one can leave in light, right? He says that. Uses those terms, darkness and light. And he said that those who leave in the darkness, they surely come back. And those who leave in the light, they don't come back, but they come to me. And actually the yogis, those who are, I've been reading the prayers of Lord Brahma to Krishna for his creative energy. I don't know if any of you have read that. Lord Brahma was assigned to recreate the universe again, and he's praying to, he performed tapasya. He was given the order tapa, performed tapasya. So he sat on his lotus leaf, lotus flower, going from the navel of Vishnu, and he performed meditation for thousands of years. Of course, for him, that's just a few moments. Anyway, a long time he performed, and so he got the vision of the Lord, darshan of the Lord, and he prayed to the Lord that please instruct me, please give me knowledge, because I don't want to speculate. Although he's such a powerful person, if any normal person saw Lord Brahma and saw what he did, they would think, oh, he must be the Supreme Personality. This must be God. But he's like, no, I'm not. Actually, Narada asked, this is how it all began. Narada asked him this question, are you the Supreme? And so he said, no, I'm not. So he's so powerful, but he was asking Krishna to give him knowledge, because he didn't want to speculate about what was. Even Brahma was born in ignorance, not understanding who he is or why he was here or what it's all about. So he gave him that instruction. So so it's said there that he didn't want to try to create the universe or do anything on his own. He didn't want to speculate like that. So he asked the Lord, please give me knowledge so that I can act as your instrument, so that I'm not acting out of false ego. And Prabhupada writes there that we're always an instrument. We're always an instrument. But we can be the instrument of the material energy, in which case we get ourselves into trouble. Or we can be the instrument of Krishna. One devotee I know, he used to tell me this story that he was taken advantage of, and some money was stolen from him. And he went to Srila Prabhupada and he said, how can this happen? And Srila Prabhupada's response was, don't be angry at the instrument of your karma. Interesting advice, huh? So we can be the instrument of somebody's karma, acting under the illusory energy, or we can be the instrument of Krishna. So Lord Brahma prayed in that way, that let me be the instrument of Krishna. Let me be your instrument. So the yogis, they're trying very hard. They have some knowledge of Krishna, although not perfect knowledge, and perhaps they're even proud of their imperfect knowledge, whereas a devotee always understands the position of Krishna, never feels that pride because of experiencing Krishna's greatness. So the yogis are trying their best to leave during the light so that they can attain their supreme destination. And they're working on their own, actually. They're not an easy job to achieve liberation by your own potency. Not so easy. So, but the devotees, on the other hand, are dependent on Krishna. So Krishna says that their position is better, and they're not concerned when they leave the world. Isn't that amazing? They're not worried about leaving, whether it's light or dark. They're not concerned. So Krishna says, Naite Shriti Partha Janan Yogi Muyati Kaschana Tasmat Sarveshu Kalashu. You know what that means? Tasmat, therefore, Sarveshu, all, Kalashu, right? All the time. So therefore, Yoga Yukto, Arjuna, always be connected with me. Yoga, be connected with me. And yoga, or devotion, the primary meaning of yoga actually is devotion. So, because that's the strongest connection. So he says, although the devotees know these two paths, Arjuna, they're never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. And so Srila Prabhupada writes, Krishna is here advising Arjuna that he should not be disturbed by the different paths the soul can take when leaving the material world. A devotee of the Supreme Lord should not worry whether he will depart by arrangement or by accident. The devotee should be firmly established in Krishna consciousness and should chant Hare Krishna. It's a good idea. We like chanting Hare Krishna. He should know that concern over either these two paths is troublesome. Yeah, because how can you possibly have all your options covered, right? There's so many things that could happen. It's just so have you ever heard that story of the road to Baghdad? Ever heard that story? There was once a rich man, and he was living in a town, and he sent his servant to the market. And so while the servant was shopping and everything, he saw death lurking in the corner of the market, and death personified looked at him, and he became very frightened, and he ran home, and he said, "Oh, death is after me, and I don't know what to do." And so the master thought, well, that's interesting. He said, well, take my horse and ride as fast as you can to Baghdad. You know, he won't be able to follow you there. And so then the master was thinking, well, I wonder what this death is. You know, so he went and he's looking around through the market, and finally he saw him, and he said, "Are you death personified?" He says, "Yes." "So why are you bothering my servant? Now he's left me, and now I have to do the shopping, and it's so problematic. Why are you after him?" He says, "Well, I'm after everyone. I'll be after you one day too." He said, "But why are you after him?" He says, "No, I wasn't after him. I was just surprised to see him here, because I have an appointment with him this afternoon on the road to Baghdad." So anyway, the idea is a little humorous. Prabhupada tells the story. So the idea is that we can never have all of our options covered. We can never imagine what the future will hold for us. We can't really make plans, you know. Our insurance policy won't cover us. And anyway, so won't prevent it, yeah. It'll cover our family, but we'll be done. So anyway, the idea is that Yeah, as Prabhupada says here, he should know that concern over either of these two paths is troublesome and simply really useless, ultimately useless. The best way to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness is to be always dovetailed in his service, in Krishna's service. And this will make one's path to the spiritual kingdom safe, certain, and direct. Sounds good, huh? To be engaged always in the service of the Lord will make our path to the spiritual kingdom safe, certain, and direct. No detours. The word yoga yukto is especially significant. Actually, that's interesting because it's said that the yogis, they attain higher and higher planets on their way back to Godhead, but there's every chance that they'll be distracted by some heavenly planet, like, wow, I didn't visit Swargaloka yet. I wonder what it's like there. And they'll stop off somewhere along the way. So their path is not direct. So the word yoga yukta is especially significant in this verse. One who is firmly in yoga is constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness in all his activities. Sri Rupa Goswami advises anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjita. One should be unattached to material affairs and do everything in Krishna consciousness. By this system, which is called yukta vairagya, one attains perfection. This is very significant for us because it's not that one has to abandon one's studies, for instance, or just go off and live in the mountains or something like that, abandon family or so many things. That's actually not the process. But it's that we have our life, but it's not the all in all for us. The all in all for us is Krishna. So we use everything, anasaktasya, without attachment. We use everything in relationship to Krishna. So it just doesn't say that we abandon material affairs, but it's not our actual attachment. Our actual attachment is to Krishna. And do everything in Krishna consciousness. By this system, which is called yukta vairagya, one attains perfection. Therefore, the devotee is not disturbed by these deceptions, because he knows that his passage to the supreme abode is guaranteed by devotional service. We'll read a little bit of the next verse. Yeah, so he says, Vedeshu yagyeshu tapasya chaiva dhaneshu yat punya palam padistam adyeti tatsarvam idam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. It's a beautiful verse. So Vedeshu, Vedas, Yagya, Tapaha, Chaiva, Dana, charity, Punya Palam, the fruits of pious activities. And it says that a yogi, atyeti, far surpasses all of these things. Even if you could do all of these things. Actually, we were hearing yesterday that even if you could perform 1,000 Ashvamedha Jagyas, horse sacrifices, who can do even one? Have any of you done a horse sacrifice? So even if you could do one, that it doesn't equal 1/24th particle. The value of 1,000 of them don't equal 1/24th particle the benefit that you would derive from hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Isn't that nice? It's a quotation from Padma Purana. So, so here it's also said that surpassing all of these different activities is the activity of devotional service, to become an actual yogi or devotee for Krishna, of Krishna. So he says, Krishna says, a person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Everything is included within this. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these. And at the end, he reaches the supreme abode. So I was thinking of I'll read this purport. It's not so long. Is that okay? It's nice to hear Srila Prabhupada's purports. This verse is the summation of the 7th and 8th chapters, which particularly deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. Takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. Do you do that here? These are some of the Vedic principles of observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master of a period from 5 to 20 years,
longer than a PhD.
Even longer than a PhD, right? Of course, there's probably, what do they call them, professional students that just stay in school. From 5 to 20 years, he may become a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into the household life and marry. When he is a householder, he has to perform many sacrifices so that he may achieve further enlightenment. He must also give charity according to the country, time, and candidate, discriminating among charity and goodness in passion and in ignorance as described in Bhagavad Gita. Then after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, living in forests, dressing with tree bark. We're almost there. Okay. Dressing in tree bark, not shaving. Ooh, that'd be the worst part. Etc. I actually had, when I was your age, I had a beard like this for about 8 years of my life. It was the 70s, you know. Never wanted to have a beard again after that. That was good enough. By carrying out the orders of brahmacharya, household life, vanaprastha, and finally sannyas, one becomes elevated to the perfectional stage of life. Some are then elevated to the heavenly kingdoms, and when they become even more advanced, they are liberated in the spiritual sky, either in the impersonal Brahmajyoti or in the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. This is the path outlined by Vedic literatures. The beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all the rituals of the different orders of life. This is Krishna's statement here, these words. The words idam videtva indicate that one should understand the instructions given by Sri Krishna in this chapter and the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One should try to understand these chapters not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in association with devotees. Chapters 7 through 12 are the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The 6th chapter and the first 6 and the last 6 chapters are like coverings for the middle 6 chapters, which are specially protected by the Lord. If one is fortunate to understand Bhagavad Gita, especially these middle 6 chapters, in association with devotees, then his life is at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charity, speculation, etc. For one can achieve all of these activities simply by Krishna consciousness. One more paragraph. One who has a little faith in Bhagavad Gita should learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee, because in the beginning of the 4th chapter it is stated clearly that Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita, because it's meant to bring us to love for Krishna. It's meant to awaken our love for Krishna. So if that's not someone's goal, if they're opposed to that, then they won't get it. They won't get what it's about. One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee of Krishna, not from mental speculators. This is a true sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee and finally gets a devotee's association, one actually begins to study and understand Bhagavad Gita. By advancement and association of devotees, one is placed in devotional service, and this service dispels all one's misgivings about Krishna or God and Krishna's activities, form, pastimes, name, and other features. All these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away. After these misgivings have been perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita and attains the state of feeling always Krishna conscious. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. That's so nice. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. The highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Goloka Vrindavan, where the devotee becomes eternally happy. What does Prabhupada say? Direct, what did he say? Direct, those same thing. Krishna consciousness, one goes to the spiritual world. It's 3 things, right? Directly. Huh? I gotta look it up. It was certain. I think, wait a second. Oh, I don't find it. Anyway, yeah, I think that was it. It's his path is certain, safe, and direct, right? Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki. So, any discussion on these points? Any thoughts? Anything inspiring to you? Yes?
What if, like as mentioned in starting of Bhagavad Gita, that to understand it, one needs to be a devotee.
Yeah, that's Krishna. Bhaktosi me sakacheti.
What if someone is not a devotee, what to do then? How should we try to explain the importance of Krishna consciousness to them?
Yeah. Yeah, Prabhupada says that only a devotee can understand, so our business is how to make them devotees. That's a process. So, through association, through hearing the chanting, through prasadam, like that. Prasadam's a great way. Never mind this Bhagavad Gita, we've got a samosa for you. And it's actually through a lot of what's called agata sukriti. You've probably heard this word, right? Agata means unknown, or a person doesn't realize it. And sukriti means pious activities, but more than that, transcendental activities that connect them to Krishna. So by these different things, then a person's heart is softened and they become a devotee. Prabhupada said that just if they're just favorable, he said, if they think, oh, these Hare Krishna people are nice, if they just think that, then their spiritual life begins. So, the cultivation. Otherwise, you can explain till you're blue in the face and they won't understand. It's an interesting. It's really an interesting phenomenon. You probably had that experience, right? You're trying to explain and they're not getting it, right? Yeah, like I'm explaining so nicely. Why aren't they understanding it? So it's mysterious because we don't understand directly anything. We understand what Krishna reveals to us in our heart. That's the mystery of this knowledge. It's not that, you know, you're hearing something and it's just making sense. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense, but in any event, there's another component, and the component is that Krishna within our heart reveals the knowledge. Chaitanya Charitamrita says that there's two gurus. Have you ever heard that? There's the outside, like Srila Prabhupada, who's giving us this knowledge, and but there's also Chaitya Guru, the Lord in the heart, and they work together, and so by the grace of the Lord in the heart, we can understand, you know, what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. So yeah, in answer to your question, and we have to try to, but it's, you can't always explain things, you know, you have to wait till the time is right sometimes to explain things to people.
Can I answer that?
Huh? Yeah, you can. I'm just yapping away.
There were several times that Srila Prabhupada commented, without prasadam, you would have no followers. And you have to, like, just, if you can imagine, we lived through it, so we know what the 1960s and 1970s were like when Srila Prabhupada was here, coming to America from Vrindavan, and the American counterculture, and the complete ignorance of everyone, of knowing absolutely nothing of Eastern philosophy, nothing of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, nothing of
vegetarianism,
even mode of goodness living.
Yeah, it practically didn't exist when I was growing up.
No culture, and at that time,
I was 17 when I first heard the word vegetarian. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, but you know, Srila Prabhupada had so much faith in prasadam and kirtan, and most of the first people that came to Srila Prabhupada, they came from prasadam and kirtan, and then those who were fortunate and stayed, they heard directly from Srila Prabhupada this knowledge. But those, I mean, so much emphasis Srila Prabhupada gave us on public distribution of prasadam and kirtan. So don't ever underestimate the power of that. You know, just like being kind and encouraging with your friends, your family, whoever it is that you're desiring to give Krishna to, and just know that that prasadam is not different from Krishna. And these days, you know, now yoga, meditation, so it's like, oh, listen to this beautiful meditation album, Kirtan album. And it works. I mean, you know, we distribute a lot of Kirtan albums, and people, they just, oh, I feel so good from this. I don't even know what the words are, you know. So, yeah. But, and your personal association, even if you're not directly speaking about Krishna, but then they're appreciating you as a person, and that you have morals and values, and you're intelligent, and you're, you know, kind person, then that all reflects, and then they want to know more about your life.
Yeah.
All of our lives. We're always representing Srila Prabhupada and our, you know, previous teachers and Krishna. Yeah, we're or misrepresenting. So please make that choice too.
Yeah, actually it's true. By your association, even just being friendly, even not talking directly, they'll become a devotee by that. Prabhupada, there's a famous, do you know when, what was it, Vidura returned back to Hastinapur to try to deliver Dhritarashtra. Do you know that story? Anyway, there's a famous verse. He was greeted by Yudhishthira. He said, Bhavad Bida Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho Tirti Kurvanti Tirtani Swantastena Kadabrada. That devotees like you carry the personality of Godhead in your heart. Therefore, you are verily holy places personified. Wherever you go, you make that place a place of pilgrimage. And I heard a lecture on this verse. It was given in Geneva, Switzerland, by Srila Prabhupada in the early 70s. So these are young followers of Srila Prabhupada. And he was encouraging them that if you just think of Krishna, then wherever you go, you'll purify that place. Isn't that nice? If you just carry Krishna within your heart, then you'll make that place purified. So, you can, by your association, your friends will become devotees, and then they can understand. Even us, even little old us, So, Hare Krishna. So, should we chant a little bit more? You're not hungry yet? Really? How long? It's okay. It's a little. How long should we go for?
Till whatever time.
Okay.
I'm curious, I would like to hear from some of you about the programs you do here and who comes.
This Krishna House was started like 4 years back, and this was meant for the students of IIT to spread the message there. So under the guidance of Rompa Swami Maharaj and then Nityanand Pran Prabhu and Ajita Prabhu, they took me, and Yashodanandan Prabhu also, like he was the one who were the initiators of this house, who provided us with the facility where we can come, study, practice Krishna consciousness, dive into this, and then experience the spirituality and all. So we, every week, there's a club in our college called as Vedic Vision Society. Vedic Vision Society.
Vigil?
Vedic Vision Society.
Vedic Vision.
Vision, a vision, okay, sorry.
Sorry. Under like, so a lot of programs we conduct, like we conduct Krishna talks each week, and then we conduct Kirtan programs every week as well. So that's how it is going on track. Like the club is running from last 13 years, and then
wow.
That's how like we are trying to reach out to students.
That's nice. And you members of the club are leading the discussions and stuff?
Yeah. So Nityanand Pran Prabhu comes every week here to conduct the talk.
Oh, he does. Okay.
And the talks are here or also on campus?
On campus mostly, and then when the campus is not active, then we conduct it here.
Oh,
So
okay.
currently we are studying Nectar of Devotion, and Prabhuji is conducting, Nityanand Pran Prabhu is conducting it every Friday here.
Wow, wonderful.
And how many students come?
Roughly around 25 to 30, and during the summer, and then when we are organizing it on campus, somewhere around, it varies from 20 to 50.
Wow.
And even though because most of the students are just there, 3 years? 4 years?
Yeah, 2 years to 4 years.
2 years to 4 years. So then you have a revolving door,
always,
but then you always have
exactly.
new people coming
New people.
in.
Every semester we get to know some new people. We conduct Diwali as well here, and then we conduct like Festival of India, and we generally keep on conducting events under the guidance of Prabhu.
And what are the challenges you have for the students? Is it difficult for them to become or maintain being a vegetarian when they come into America? Are they coming from other countries, or are they already here in America, or both?
Both. Generally, when like people, especially from India, it's very difficult for for them, like for us as well, to convince them to experience what we are doing and all, because they are all together, because they are already with a lot of philosophy inbuilt from India, so it's like the cups are full. So it takes time to make them empty and then fill it.
Do they come sometimes just because they want the camaraderie and the prashadam?
Yeah,
like
the main thing is
prashadam. Of course.
So we try to distribute prasadam on like large scale.
Okay.
So all the programs are prashadam.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
Main
Nice.
ingredient.
Wow. And how long have those of you that are here? How long have you been with Vedic Vision?
So I came to US in 2014, spring 2014. So I'm associated with ISKCON and VVS from that time. And we like after students graduate, they get job, they change the cities, relocate to other cities, and then they practice there.
Yeah.
There's always someone new coming to this.
To serve?
Yeah.
That's a challenge with college programs.
Sorry.
That's the challenge with college programs.
Always new.
And is it hard for the students coming to accept, the no intoxication and strict vegetarian diet?
So it's like, again, whenever they are here, then it's always difficult for them to follow on the path. So it was very difficult for me initially, but later on when the taste develops, when we hear a lot, we associate with devotees, we hear about Krishna and all, then steadily, step by step, we make that incremental progress on the path.
You're not pushing them in that way. You're not pushing them.
No.
Trying to gently pull them along.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
Another, I guess, people who come from India who already follow these 4 principles of no gambling, all the 4 principles, they have a strong issue believing Krishna is supreme. They have a thing that Shiva is supreme. It's very difficult to convince them. I was one of them.
And are they generally from the south?
I'm from north, he's from south.
So that's
All over.
But you grew up with very strong morals and religious principles. Your family's strong.
Yes, ma'am.
But then Lord Shiva is God, the supreme. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, actually,
how did the devotees help you with that one?
Nityananda promised to help us.
Yeah.
Good question, discussion.
Yeah. Whoa.
Is that a timer for something?
Yeah.
Is she ready for bed?
You can't have her lights on all the time, or she needs to rest. She's doing so beautifully.
Yeah, isn't she?
It's like, wow, you'd never know. You just went through winter in Chicago and springtime and now summer, and she's like... Anyone else want to share? Oh, he's going to do Kirtan.
No, it's okay.
Would anyone else like to share? Because
I'm just,
it's really nice for us
whatever.
to hear from you.
The devotees from Krishna House are the ones who clean the kitchen every Sunday.
Wow,
After the
right.
Sunday feast. They're the ones
Okay.
who are there every Sunday. Yeah. So.
Special mercy for that. That's
Even
great.
if it's their first time to the temple, they come down and wash pots.
Wow.
So
That's
we really
great.
admire the devotees here.
Jai. That's great. It's a nice attitude. It's very nice.
Yeah.
And when you cook for the program, you cook here, or is there a commercial kitchen on campus you cook?
No, we just cook here, or sometimes temple provides us with the prasad.
Hare Krishna. That's a good melody.
And are you all studying IT? Considering you're an IIT.
I graduated with electrical engineering, so it's all mixed blend
So
of
IT and engineering.
computer and IT.
Request for the Kirtan you did in Ann Arbor?
What was that?
Yoga studio.
The first one, the
Oh,
second one?
oh, you were. Oh, yeah, you were there. You were there.
Yeah, but we missed the come to the afternoon session.
Session, yeah.
So the one
Means the one in the
In the
yurt?
yacht, in the
In the
yurt.
yurt? In that?
Yes.
Yeah, yoga
Yeah.
And we heard-
We did
Oh,
three
You did
melodies there, I
three
think.
different
Yeah.
what do we do?
Probably you're talking about the last
Well,
one.
just play through the 3 different ones and let them...
Yoga studio was
That one, I think.
because of
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare
Oh, that one.
Okay. Okay, we'll do that.
While they're cleaning the kitchen.
That's what we do. Yeah, that's a classic melody. Good.
Classic or classical?
Yeah, classic, not classical. It's probably a rock and roll. That's what it is. But the words are good. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna a little louder, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A little louder, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Gaura Hariba, 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 Jai Gaura Hariba, Jai Gaura. Jai Nitai Gaur Hari Bal, Hari Bal, Hari Bal, Nitai Gaur Hari Bal. Jai Nitai Gaur Hari Bal, Hari Bal, Hari Bal, Hari Bal. Sankirtan ki, Shiva Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Kishore Kishori ki, Shri Gauritai ki, Srila Bhagavan ki, Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki, Jai Gautamanande. Vanchakapa Turvyascha Kripa Sindhivyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
We're going to play.
Yay. Yeah.
Start to play.
Thank you for your association, everybody. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.